humans can be frustrating when it comes to exercise. My name is Robyn Baumann, and I have 3 children. I homeschool. Do you want my age? I'm in my 40s. I live in Maryland. I've lived here about 10 years. Yeah, that's about it. I work at a gym called Fit You. I am a trainer. I also have done like a fair amount of coaching in this area, as well as training. I've always been an athlete. I like sports. I like to exercise. I like to move my body. I like to run. I like hiking. I like all of those things. So it's just natural that I would do that for work as well. I was actually an anthropology major. I think during that time, I had a professor that I really loved early on, like my freshman year. And anthropology was just always fascinating to me. I liked cultural anthropology. I liked all sorts of things about anthropology. I like humans. So it was just always such an interesting field, I thought. Well, I think because for a lot of reasons, I didn't work for quite a while. We were moving a lot when I first got married. And so it was really hard to work, to do anything, just because Matt was gone all the time. I had kids, and just getting, to a job and working that out without family around was always just really difficult. So I think that just when I got here, I started coaching again. And so I was coaching a travel volleyball team. I coached 13 team. I've coached 14. I've coached 16. In my younger years, I coached a lot too. So once I started doing that, a lot of when I first moved to this area, a lot of the coaching was just not really where it should be. And it wasn't super safe for the girls that I was coaching. So I was having a lot of girls, even at 13, 14, having a lot of injuries, like rotator cuff injuries, back issues, which is really common with volleyball players who come in off season, not in shape. So I kind of just did it to help my girls out. I also had a daughter who was playing at that time too, who was having, some of the same issues initially. And then it was just like a natural progression to start working at the gym I worked at. We trained a lot of athletes. We worked with the college volleyball team too for a while. So yeah, that's why. So my job now is a little bit different. Obviously, I took some time off with COVID, but I don't train as many athletes anymore. I kind of shifted into just some experiences with my own parents. I still have a couple of young people, but I also have older people. So I work with a couple of groups of seniors. I've taught senior classes, and I just think that natural progression happened for me just out of life experience. And I think that particular group of humans, it's really important to stay in shape and stay mobile. It's the difference between living at home independently or not. So yeah. Okay. That's my favorite part, I think, about my job right now. I think that helping people to stay independent and hearing people be like, oh, I can get out of a chair without having to use a cane or something like that. It makes me happy. So it makes me feel like it's helpful. I mean, I always felt that way with my kids, but my kids are athletes. So it wasn't a matter of, were they going to be able to function in their day to day? It was more like, can they continue to play sports? Can they get better at their sport? Whereas this is more of just a functional everyday sort of thing. So it's fulfilling. Yeah. The hardest part is humans can be frustrating when it comes to exercise. So there's been some experiences where people will pay you, and it's almost like they want to pay you so you can do the exercise for them, which doesn't really work. So like when they come into the gym, there's a lot of complaining, there's a lot of whining, there's a lot of, which is really interesting because I'm not sure why you would pay somebody if that was kind of how you were going to be. But motivating people can be kind of challenging. And I also think that it's people have a tendency in that environment to have a lot of other issues going on. So sometimes it can be a place where people like verbally dump a lot of information on you. And sometimes that can be a little bit hard. I've had a couple of clients who were just really a lot of words, and it was like very emotionally draining. After 30 or 40 minutes, I'd be like, oh my gosh, can I take a nap? So that would be my least favorite. Or just people who are really difficult, that's always just hard to deal with. Yeah. I mean, I have a client who I've had her for 8.5 years, and she's lost 60 pounds. She's been, I mean, even when I stopped training, she comes in and out. I've trained her at her house when we weren't able to train. Just those sort of results are awesome. I mean, it's such a huge quality of life thing for her. She's so much healthier. She was pre-diabetic. She just did a complete shift in the way that she thinks and the way she handles her health. And I just think that is definitely the best part for me. Yeah. I think it's always been a matter of making it balanced with what's going on at home and being outside of my house, because obviously my husband and my kids take priority. But I also feel like that the job that I do does require, especially if I have older people with injuries, I have to spend a lot of time like planning that and thinking through it. And so I think just the time management can be tricky, especially with homeschooling and just kids and life and a busy husband. I think that's always the balance of trying to, it's an evening. I'm gone a lot in the evenings. So that's always hard because it's like dinner time and sports time, and how do I get everybody everywhere and then be where I need to be? I'd say that's always been the hardest thing for me. Yeah. Well, I think it helps to be athletic. I think to move your body would probably be a very helpful thing. I think a lot of it is personality as well. I think people, especially people who don't like to exercise, or they don't like fitness, or they're not comfortable. Not everybody is athletic. Not everybody is able to move fluidly. Some people literally at 50 have never exercised. So I think people are just really uncomfortable. So I think just making people feel comfortable and successful. Yeah, that would be my answer, I think. Pretty minimally, I would say, just because I don't let much of it in. I think when I first started training, I would say yes to everything. It was like, yes, yes, yes. Like, oh, go train people at St. Mary's College. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Oh, this person wants to train at this time, or this needs to happen. And now I just say no. I have like certain times that I train, and it's like either that works or it doesn't, and that's okay with me. So yeah. I would say it doesn't really impact them too heavily. That would be my thought. I could be wrong. It's interesting. I would say probably 85%, maybe 90% of my clients are Catholic. So I just think that for me, I've gotten in the habit, especially the last couple of years. Anytime I write a program, I always pray for whoever I'm writing my program for. I think that there's been a couple of things. There's a lot of good programs. There's a program out of New York. She's doing some really fantastic things with fitness and your faith. And I think that I have the realization that you cannot have like a fit body if your spirit, if your faith life isn't strong. Like you can have a sick soul and a healthy body and vice versa. And I just don't think that you can really be healthy like as a whole if your faith is not healthy and your body. So I just think they're intertwined so much. And I think that that's something that for me personally has been a big one to realize, like, hey, like if I'm working out super hard, but I'm not doing what I'm supposed to in my faith life, it doesn't work for me. And so vice versa, if I'm doing what I need to at church and then I'm ignoring movement in my body, that doesn't work either. But I think that they are so heavily connected, and it's really important to have both of them. And so there's just some women that are doing a really good job incorporating the two. And I think that's really important for everybody. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great field. I think there's so many different areas now. I mean, this particular field was already in our country, obviously, with diabetes, obesity. I mean, you name it. I mean, it's happening here. Our country is like the worst when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to movement. I would say it's a great field to get into, whether it's nutrition, kinesiology, PT. I think it's a field that's going to continue to need lots and lots of humans involved. COVID has made it 1,000 times worse. Obviously, people just shut down for a year and a half. Some people are still shut down. I think that if it's a field that a girl is interested in, there's a million different avenues and a million different ways to explore it. Like I said, whether it's through nutrition or you want to do, classes or whatever it is, it's a great field. And I think it's just going to there's always going to be a demand for it. And it's just going to keep getting bigger, in my opinion. And I also think for girls, like I would be an example of this, who maybe were athletes and school was maybe not your number one thing that you were into. So I think kids maybe who are ADD or have a lot of energy, or they need a place for that movement to go, I think it's a great field for them. Everyone has their niche. So yeah, I think there's a lot of great programs out there.